Tonight on Reporting Scotland, a woman is awarded £100,000 by a civil court against a man who was cleared of raping her. He says he plans to defend the action. A former soldier calls on the Ministry of Defence to do more for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I know it's not going to happen overnight, but they really need to start acting quick, because if they don't, more people are going to take their lives and leave these families behind.
The MOD says it's committed to helping any member of the military community who's struggling. Also coming up on the programme, North Ayrshire Council is the first local authority to offer free sanitary products in all its public buildings. Celebrations for Rangers as they progress to the playoff stages of the Europa League. And it's the last dance for Runrig as the veteran rockers bid farewell after 45 years. Good evening. A soldier who was cleared of rape in a criminal trial has been ordered to pay £100,000 to the woman who accused him of assaulting her. The woman brought a civil action against Sean Diamond, who was serving at an army base in Fife at the time. His lawyers say he intends to defend the action. Tonight, the woman said she now wanted to get on with her life. She's been speaking to our reporter, Andrew Anderson.
For me, it was absolutely heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, the worst thing I could ever have imagined. I felt like the worst thing had already happened, and then to hear the not proven verdict just multiplied what had already happened to an even more extreme level. It was just awful.
The woman who alleges she was raped by a soldier 3 years ago as she slept in a flat in Dundee. Sean Diamond was acquitted of the charge in October 2017. The jury returned a verdict of not proven, an outcome the woman says devastated her.
I'm somebody that's normally very upbeat, bubbly, happy person, and I became almost a prisoner in my own head because I just felt there was nowhere for me to go following this and there was no way out.
Following the criminal trial, the woman took out a civil action against Sean Diamond. He's now been ordered to pay her £100,000. It's highly unusual for a woman to be awarded damages by a civil court after an acquittal in a criminal rape case. Women's campaigners have welcomed the outcome.
I think what people are looking for in these circumstances, it's absolutely not about the money. It's about feeling that you've got some official recognition that what happened to you was wrong and was harmful and wasn't your fault. And I think that is why people are turning to the civil system, is to get that kind of vindication.
At the time, Sean Diamond was serving at the Lookers Army base in Fife. He's now based in Norfolk. Tonight, his lawyer said, due to an oversight, he failed to lodge defences in time and the court have granted a decree against him. He denies the allegations of rape and intends to defend the action against him. The woman told me the case had never been about the money. She's been looking for closure and hoping to move on with her life. Andrew Anderson, Reporting Scotland.
A former soldier from Aberdeen has called on the Ministry of Defence to do more for veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Andrew Christie claims he knows of 4 veterans who've taken their own lives in the last 8 months. The MOD says it's committed to helping any member of the military community who's suffering. Rebecca Curran reports.
Sometimes it's hard to even get out of bed, hard to motivate yourself and have the drive to, do daily tasks.
For Andy Christie, every day is a struggle. The former soldier was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in 2005. He says he knows of 4 veterans who've taken their own lives in the past 8 months and is calling for more support from the Ministry of Defence.
I know it's not going to happen overnight, but they really need to start acting quick, because if they don't, more people are going to take their lives. We've had some scares in the last couple of days of people that are at their almost limit and they're screaming for help. The help just isn't there.
Andy joined the army when he was 16. He served in Northern Ireland, Kosovo and Iraq with the Royal Regiment of Scotland.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old.
A Roll of Honour was launched in Edinburgh today to commemorate 11,000 Royal Scots killed in service. We're good at remembering the dead, but what about those who survive conflict?
It is a big family, and when you leave that, you're on your own in this big world. And believe it or not, it's really hard hitting when you leave. And just recently I've started to open up a little bit more But at the darkest point, I have contemplated it, but I could never do it for my family.
In a statement, the Ministry of Defence say while rates of mental health disorder are lower in the military than the general population, the MOD is committed to helping any member of the military community who is struggling. Andy says he'll make it his mission to get help for veterans who need it.
I believe that these guys' lives have been taken, and I feel that if the help was there quick enough, then it might have been prevented. I really do. I believe all these guys would be here today if they were given the right treatment and care.
Rebecca Curran, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
The biggest health union in Scotland says it's time to break away from pay bargaining at a UK level for NHS workers. It comes as health unions agreed a 3-year pay deal with a headline figure of a 9% rise. Because of unique circumstances, this deal was agreed with the Scottish Government and not the UK-wide NHS pay review body. 6 Rangers fans were arrested amid violent clashes with police before the club's Europa League qualifier in Slovenia. 4 supporters were also fined after the trouble in the build-up to the game against Maribor. Footage posted online appears to show baton-wielding officers charging into crowds of fans outside bars in the city. It's not known what sparked the trouble. Police in Stornoway are asking for help to find a 17-year-old schoolgirl who's been missing since yesterday afternoon. Hannah Mackenzie from Graver was last seen outside the town's Nicholson Institute School at 4 o'clock and was intending to walk to the Western Isles Hospital. She's 5'5" with dark hair in a ponytail and was wearing black trousers, her school sweatshirt and a black jacket with white fur on the hood. A teenager has been sentenced to almost 8 years for the attempted murder of a Syrian refugee. 18-year-old Sean Gorman stabbed Shabazz Ali 6 times in a racist attack at an Edinburgh hostel in May. Mr Ali's family fear he may never fully recover. A warning that Stephen Godden's report contains scenes of violence from the start.
Drunk and high on drugs, Sean Gorman confronts Shabazz Ali in a row over loud music. Shabazz, a Syrian refugee, and his cousin are racially abused before the knife attack begins. Gorman stabbed Shabazz Ali 6 times. Last month, after the 18-year-old admitted attempted murder, his victim spoke to BBC Scotland.
For his time, he said, "I'm gonna kill you." When he stamped me, first stamp and second one, when I dropped down, he said, "I told you I'm going to kill you. Go back to your country."
Today, Sivan Ali, Shabazz's father, was in court for sentencing. The judge told Sean Gorman that he was guilty of a frenzied attack on a stranger and that were it not for the expert medical care that Shabazz Ali received, Gorman could have been facing a murder charge.
Shabazz Ali is a 25-year-old Kurdish man who sought sanctuary in Scotland, making it his home, having escaped ISIS who murdered 9 members of his family in Syria. Sean Gorman went on to attack him, stabbing him 6 times in the chest and back. He was lucky to survive, and it is likely he will never fully recover.
Gorman was only at the hostel that night because he'd been released early from a previous sentence for knife crime. Today, in a judgment welcomed by his victim's family, Gorman was ordered to complete the remaining 6 months of that sentence before beginning another term of almost 8 years. Stephen Godden reporting Scotland at the High Court in Edinburgh.
It's emerged that a man who attacked 2 people with an axe in Glasgow city centre before fatally wounding himself had been reported to police days before. The 33-year-old was restrained and given first aid by officers in April last year. The Police Investigations and Review Commissioner said officers acted courageously, but it also said concerns raised by his family days before were not acted upon. The Commissioner said it wasn't possible to know whether immediate action would have prevented the incident. Free sanitary products are to be offered to women and girls in all public buildings run by North Ayrshire Council. The local authority says it's the first in the UK to tackle so-called period poverty in this way. Katie Hunter reports.
People have always been able to access free books at Co-Winning Library. Now women and girls can access free sanitary products.
It's always good that it's there and you know it's there.
These teenagers already get free tampons and towels in their schools. They support extending the scheme.
A lot of young people can't afford to have like the money to go out and spend on like sanitary products, which has led to instances where a lot of young people have like used like newspapers, socks, like things you shouldn't really use, really unhealthy and bad for your body.
It's breaking down the taboo, so it's not something that's an issue to talk about because it shouldn't be. It's natural, it's something that all women go through, so why shouldn't we talk about it?
This is the women's toilet in Kilwinning Library, and this is the vending machine, but with a difference. All women and girls will have to do is press one of these two blue buttons and a free sanitary product will be dispensed. Research by charity Plan International suggests around 1 in 10 girls in the UK has been unable to afford sanitary items. But it isn't just teenagers who can struggle to pay for the products.
Some women aren't able to afford what is essentially a basic need. It's not something that they choose. It certainly doesn't wait along to see how much they've got in their purse. So I think it's about normalising it, it's about making sure that these essential items are available.
I think in the last couple of years the conversation's really developed.
The MSP Monica Lennon is behind a bill in the Scottish Parliament to make sanitary products free for all women in Scotland and says it's about more than just money.
It's also about trying to end some of the taboo around periods, because of course it's completely normal. So this shows that periods are normal, and we're getting to a point where access to period products is as normal as accessing toilet paper when you go into a public bathroom.
The Scottish Government is already providing free sanitary products to some low-income women. Campaigners want that extended to all women. Katie Hunter, reporting Scotland, Kilwinning.
You're watching BBC Reporting Scotland. It's 19 minutes to 7. A reminder of tonight's top story. A woman is awarded £100,000 by a civil court against a man who was cleared of raping her. And still to come, it's the last dance for Runrig as the veteran rockers bid farewell after 45 years. Hundreds of mountain bikers will face extra biosecurity measures before a race in the Borders this weekend. It follows the discovery of an outbreak of what's known as larch disease in the forest near Innerleithen, where the event's being staged. From there, Cameron Buttle reports.
The Border cycling trails are now world famous. Tomorrow, hundreds of bikers and spectators will hit Truchware Forest for a top-level competition. But there's a warning to all taking part. No one will get to race unless all bikes and equipment get a thorough cleaning first. The aim is to stop the spread of P. ramorum, better known as larch disease. It's a fungus that has been in Scotland since 2002, mostly confined to Dumfries and Galloway, where trees are still being felled.
The response to the messages that we've put out has been astoundingly positive. There's nobody complaining about that. It's fabulous that mountain bikers and cyclists in general take these issues so seriously. We love the outdoors, we love the mountains, we love the forests.
The Keep It Clean campaign is not just for competitors, it's for all bikers, walkers, anyone using the forest.
The larch tree is an important commercial species, and it's also very important for landscaping. It's what helps make places like the Tweed Valley look beautiful in the autumn and spring. So we want to minimise the impact that the disease has.
This is a healthy larch tree. What the experts want you to look out for the symptoms of larch disease are the branches or the needles going a dark reddish brown, or possibly the top of the tree. Another symptom is lesions, weeping lesions on the trunk of the tree. If you see any of these symptoms, they want you to report them. The experts say larch disease can no longer be eradicated. It's too well established. But the message is that every effort should be made to slow its spread as much as possible. Cameron Buttle, reporting Scotland, Truchware Forest.
A memorial service has been held for the former Holyrood presiding officer, Sir Alex Ferguson. The retired Conservative MSP died last month at the age of 69 after a short illness. Among around 800 people at Kirkcudbright Parish Church were Deputy First Minister John Swinney, Scottish Tory leader Ruth Davidson and the current presiding officer Ken McIntosh. Sir Alex represented the Galloway area from the inception of the Scottish Parliament in 1999 until his retirement at the 2007 election.
Just overwhelming to see the reaction after he died. I don't think any of us, even my mum, had any idea how widely respected he was across across the political divides and all through this constituency and all through Scotland. I mean, it's just, the letters just came pouring in, and the tributes, everything that came out in the papers, honestly, none of us had any idea.
An Aberdeen medical practice is closing after failing to recruit enough GPs. Rosemount Medical Group, which has around 4,500 patients, will end its contract with NHS Grampian and shut its doors in January. Aberdeen City Health and Social Care Partnership says that, like many others across the country, the Rosemount practice has found it challenging to maintain a full team. The delay in delivering 2 new ferries for Calmac has been described as a huge letdown by Scotland's Tourism Alliance. It's urging ministers to give urgent priority to tackling the current shortage of capacity for vehicles travelling between islands and the west coast. The comments follow the admission yesterday that the 2 ferries being built at Ferguson Marine Shipyard in Port Glasgow are behind schedule. The Glen Sannox, which will sail their Drossen to Brodick route, was launched last November but is now in dry dock. They took Scottish music to audiences across the globe, but this weekend the curtain comes down on 45 years of Runrig. Thousands of fans are flocking to Stirling for the band's last dance gigs tonight and tomorrow night. Ian McInnes looks at Runrig's legacy.
Their music has spanned generations and changed quite a bit over the years. From folk to electronica to rock and beyond. But Runrig's story is in many ways coming to an end.
This band's roots lie far from the big cities and the stadium gigs. The year Runrig formed in 1973, they took their music to their native islands, including here in North Uist, and they made quite the impression.
The first gig was in August '73 in Lochmaddy Hall, and I remember going to a little shop across the road from the hall, and there was a little advert in the shop sort of pronouncing that Runrig Dance Band were coming to Lochmaddy Hall. So I thought to myself, this is the opportunity to put on my new purple suit, which I'd got from J.D. Williams.
From the dance halls to Top of the Pops, they took their Highland music to new audiences worldwide.
They were never trendsetters, but what they had was roots and a way of looking at the world that pulled politics, spirituality, environment, people, language, all of these things together. Their songs spoke to people.
They took those issues way beyond the Highlands and, as we know, way beyond the shores of the UK for that matter. People know about Highland issues, some of them particularly related to the land and the language, of course, because of Runrig.
And feelings are running high amongst those on whom their music made such a mark.
Sadness, because I know when we walk away from the park on the Saturday night, that's it. Always before you've had to be able to look forward to maybe a gig 2 or 3 years down the line, but we know now that's it over. But we'll all leave with a smile and a cheer in our heart.
The legacy will be as the band who changed everything, at least in a Highland sense, arguably in a Scottish sense, as the band who put major Highland issues front and central. The unlikeliest of rock icons in many, many respects, but the very likeliest and the very best of rock icons in a Highland sense.
And our arts correspondent Pauline McLean is in Stirling for us tonight. It's going to be quite an occasion. What's the atmosphere like?
Sally, of course, this band has had 45 years to build up a fan base, and not just in the Highlands and Islands where they have their roots, where they've had to add extra ferries and extra flights to bring all the fans here, but worldwide there's been a huge amount of interest. This concert was the fastest selling concert last year, so much so they had to add an extra date, and fans have come from across the world. They reckon about 1 in 10 of the 47,000 people who'll come to these 2 concerts have come from outside Scotland, and we spoke to some of them earlier.
I've seen them several times,
This is my first time and last, I suppose, as it will be.
Yeah, we're all big Runrig fans, so we had to come back for one last time to see them.
And how many times have you been to see them?
About 15 times over the years.
Runrig's just been such a large part of my life, and
the one band I've always listened to constantly, and yeah, just had to be here.
And of course, this is one of the most iconic locations in Scotland, standing beneath Stirling Castle, and a very upsetting for a band that really has changed the face of music. They've taken Gaelic music, Gaelic culture and language to Top of the Pops, to Times Square, and they've also paved the way for so many other Gaelic artists behind them, like Julie Fowlis, who's on stage at the moment. And so there is an element of sadness about all of this coming to an end, but I think also a celebration of what's been achieved.
Pauline, thank you very much. Enjoy yourself. A woman has had a contact lens removed from her eyelid 28 years after it was thought to have fallen out. Doctors at Ninewells Hospital in Dundee made the discovery after the woman, who's now 42, complained of swelling over her eye. When she was 14, the patient was hit in the eye by a shuttlecock while she was wearing the contact lens. It was assumed to have been knocked out by the impact. Rangers have already made huge strides under Steven Gerrard, and the club are on their way back up. That's the view of former Ibrox striker Billy Dodds. He was speaking after Rangers made the playoff round of Europa Club qualifying for the first time since 2011. Here's Andy Burke.
Rangers march on in Europe, and with that comes something the club have been searching for a long time: momentum. Steven Gerrard seems to have added steel to his side, a quality and evidence in their goalless draw with Maribor in Slovenia that saw them advance 3-1 on aggregate.
I think they've got a manager now who demands standards. The players have responded to it. The club is growing. You know, they were playing Berwick Rangers and teams like that, no disrespect to them, a few years ago. So the progression's there for all to see. They've just got to continue that now, because every Rangers fan, the one thing they want is to stop Celtic, and that's their main aim. Although this Europa League is not a bad thing either.
Rangers are into the Europa League qualifying playoff, where Celtic also find themselves after crashing out of the Champions League to AEK Athens. They today move to strengthen their squad as they look to regroup after that disappointment in Greece.
I spoke to the gaffer, and honestly I was really excited to get started. It's such a massive club, and after speaking to Tommy Rogic, the first thing I did was give him a call, and he had nothing but praise for the club, and for me it seemed like a good place to get started with European football, and I was very, very excited.
It's been a turbulent week for Celtic, knocked out of Champions League qualifying by AEK Athens. The club have also had to deal with the situation surrounding Dedryck Boyata, the Belgian defender seemingly going on strike in an attempt to force a move away from the Scottish champions. Celtic have today, however, moved to dismiss reports of a rift between manager Brendan Rodgers and the club's board about a lack of summer transfer activity.
There's no fallout with the board. There's no big fractures within the club. It's a story that wants to be, I suppose, the media are trying to generate, but it's not there. We're fine. Brennan's working. He's working with the board. He's in dialogue with the board, as ever. So I think what I can tell you now is that we won't let this negativity be created and start holding us back.
Brendan Rodgers has barely put a foot wrong in his 2 years in Scotland. Now he must overcome his first major disappointment as Celtic boss. Andy Burke, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Weather now, and it was looking fairly dry there in Stirling for the fans.
A little bit of late brightness coming through, yes. Didn't look too bad at all. Thank you very much indeed, Sally. Hello, it was a pretty cloudy day for many of us today. Some outbreaks of rain, although a little bit more cheerful just to end the day in places. But overnight tonight, we have a weather system moving its way eastwards. This cold front sort of hangs around across southern parts of the country, so staying fairly cloudy here with some showery outbreaks of rain. Quite a windy night. Fresh to strong southwesterlies, the black circles indicating the wind gusts there. And temperatures, well, on the mild side, in the mid-teens in the south. To the weekend, this is Saturday's chart. Low pressure pushing up towards Scandinavia and another system in the Atlantic coming our way overnight into Sunday. But for Saturday, a bit of a north-south split. For the central belt and south, it's pretty cloudy. Some showery outbreaks of rain. It's not going to rain all day, hopefully, but there will be some outbreaks of rain on and off. North of here, reasonably dry with some sunshine and quite a breezy day. Once again, a fresh southwesterly. So by mid-afternoon, cloudy with outbreaks of rain through Argyll in towards Glasgow and over towards Edinburgh. South of here, some cloud, bit of light rain at times. North of here, Dundee, probably Stirling, up towards Aberdeen, dry with some sunshine, similar to for Inverness. A little more cloud for the Highlands and Islands, perhaps a few blustery showers at times, and certainly a mixture of sunshine and showers for the Northern Isles. Temperatures around about the mid to high teens, perhaps 20 degrees in the northeast. So if you're hill walking or climbing, certainly a chance of a blustery shower in the northwest. Eastern ranges generally dry, but across the southern uplands, well, outbreaks of rain. And the wind gusts there, anything up to around 40 to 55 miles an hour at times. And, of course, it's the World Pipe Band Championships tomorrow at Glasgow Green. Pretty cloudy throughout the day, outbreaks of rain on and off. Temperatures around about the mid-teens and breezy too. And the rest of the afternoon into the evening staying fairly cloudy, and then another area of rain approaching. There it is on the UK scale, moving its way in. Actually got the remnants of an old tropical system within it, so the rain could be quite heavy at times, but it's going to move through quite quickly, so it's going to be a cloudy and wet start to Sunday, but the rain moves its way northeastwards through the course of the day, so hopefully something drier by afternoon. In the far north and northern Isles, actually, you'll probably escape dry with some sunshine. Much lighter winds on Sunday compared with Saturday. Temperatures around about the mid to high teens. And into next week, well, staying fairly unsettled at times, certainly through Monday and Tuesday with various weather systems, outbreaks of rain, but settling down, largely dry come Wednesday. That's the forecast for now.
Thanks very much, Christopher. Now, a reminder of tonight's main news. A soldier who was cleared of rape in a criminal trial has been ordered to pay £100,000 to the woman who accused him of assaulting her. The woman brought a civil action against Sean Diamond, who was serving at an army base in Fife at the time. His lawyers say he intends to defend the action. Rules governing e-cigarettes should be relaxed to make it easier for people to vape in public places. That's one of the recommendations from a group of MPs. The report also asked the government to consider their use on buses and trains. And that is Reporting Scotland. I'll be back with the late bulletin just after the 10 o'clock news. Until then, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.